Over the last few weeks, I've made a couple different videos following the saga that is the Philadelphia 76ers because, to put it simply, things are not going very well over there, and they certainly have a long way to go before they can get back to realistically competing for anything big. When their season ended off of a first-round sweep by the Boston Celtics, it made the franchise reevaluate several different parts of the team, and the first person to be let go of was head coach Brett Brown. Doc Rivers recently got announced as the new coach of the team, so we'll see how good of a move that proves to be. But the next thing that many fans and analysts were highly critical of was the team's front office, and for good reason. They put together an awfully constructed roster that absolutely holds back the capabilities of their two franchise stars, and despite the public backlash, it's not looking like any changes are going to be made in that department. They're on thin ice though, and they will need to make some positive moves as soon as possible, and one opportunity has recently come about that leads us to the topic of today's video. The Sixers will have to scour the trade market to look for some shooting to bring into the team, and there's no better candidate than sharpshooter Buddy Hield, who earlier this week reportedly requested a trade. Today we're going to be discussing the Buddy Hield situation in full, what led him to this point, and why it's in the Sixers' best interest to aggressively pursue acquiring him. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. When Buddy Hield was drafted back in 2016, almost his entire draft stock was built upon his premier shooting ability and dead-eye accuracy from deep. He was coming off of an unbelievable senior season at Oklahoma, where his shooting led the team to the Final Four. Obviously, he's a capable scorer in other areas as well, and he flashed potential to develop into a shot creator full-on at the next level, but his ability to shoot the basketball was so elite that he ended up being a lottery pick by the Pelicans. He started slowly in the NBA, but when he got traded to the Kings in the middle of his rookie year in the DeMarcus Cousins trade, he really seemed to find his stride, and the Kings seemed like a perfect spot for him. In each of his first 3 seasons with the Kings, he showed drastic improvement scoring the ball, going from averaging 10.6 points as a rookie, to then 13.5 points in year 2, to then a massive breakout that he had 2 seasons ago, where he averaged a very strong 20.7 points per game. It was that year that he became a full-time starter, and results paid off big time both for Hield and the team. Over this span, he also established himself as one of the very best shooters in the entire NBA, having shot above 42% from deep in all 3 of the seasons with the team, while taking a high volume of 3-point attempts in that span. He was a perfect complement for De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt to space the floor and allow him to attack off the dribble like he does so well. And because of this, Hield went into the offseason wanting a pretty big extension. Not necessarily max money, but he knew, especially in today's perimeter-oriented NBA, his skill set was highly valuable. So when the Kings offered him only a contract in the range of about $22 million per year, he felt offended and made it obvious. In an interview, he even went as far as to say, "I see it like an insult. I feel like I'm worth more than that. If you say I'm your guy and you want to build around me, I just need you to show it. Actions speak louder than words. If you're just talking and not showing nothing, I'm not going to respect it. I love playing here. I want to be here. This is my home. I'm trying to buy a house here, but everything is on stall mode because I don't know if they'll really commit to me." Obviously, at this point, his relationship with the team was beginning to be strained, but he did eventually receive the money he was looking for, signing a 4-year extension for about $106 million, but the rift between him and the team did not end at that. In that same offseason, the team fired coach Dave Yorger, and in his place, they brought in Luke Walton, which was a highly questionable move at the time, and now looking back in hindsight, it looks even worse. Hield was coming off of a career year under Yorger, and under Walton, things have not gone very smoothly at all. The Kings entered the year with expectations to compete for the 8th seed in the playoffs because there were several spots potentially opening up, and instead, they came out and lost the first 5 games games of the season to set the tone for an underwhelming year. Buddy was still starting for the first half of the season, but then he got benched in favor of Bogdan Bogdanovic, and that's when things really started to sour between him and the team. He has admittedly had a bit of a down year, but that down year is still a season where he's been putting up 19 points per game, and he shot 39% from 3, which may not be as good to his prior standard, but it is still very good nonetheless. This leads us to the connection between him and the Sixers because, as I said at the start of the video, all of this disconnect resulted in Hield letting it be known that he wants out, and the Sixers have been one of his ideal destinations. Months ago on Instagram, he liked a post hypothesizing a trade with the Sixers acquiring him. Last week, he once again did the same thing, and on Twitter, when it got announced by Adrian Wojnarowski that the team hired Doc Rivers to be their new coach, he liked that tweet as well. He's tried to keep it low-key, but I think it's fair to say that he's in favor of becoming a 76er. Now, it just so happens that after a pretty disastrous offseason last summer, the Sixers will be scouring the trade market looking for people with the exact type of skill set that Hield brings, so it's honestly a match made in heaven, but striking a deal will not be easy. Other pieces will be involved, but the main part of the deal will have to probably come around an Al Horford swap, which might not be as unrealistic as some might think. Yes, Horford had a pretty bad season top to bottom, but that's because his skill set was incredibly redundant and not necessary alongside what the Sixers already had. The Kings also just so happened to be a team that went incredibly hard last season trying to sign Horford before the Sixers beat them to the punch. A year later now, the Kings are still looking for a center, and they might be able to land the player they offered $100 million to last summer after all. This is especially possible because a year later, the Kings don't necessarily have a real solution at the center position. Richaun Holmes did break out and have a terrific season for them, but on a team that wants to win, Holmes is probably best served as a backup who plays a big role off the bench and provides quality minutes in that span. To make money work, each team will have to include additional assets, but I think they can help each other out in different ways. The Sixers will likely attach picks to any package, including possibly the 21st pick in this year's draft, second-round picks, young guys like Zaire Smith and Matisse Thybulle may be involved, and the Kings very well could be intrigued by the opportunity. Overall, these are two teams going into very important seasons but for different reasons. One needs to get back to competing at the highest level in the East, and the other is looking to break through to playoff contention status in the West, and doing so with an unhappy player in a big role is not ideal. They can help each other out here, and especially for Philly, they are in desperate need of some perimeter offense, so Hield could solve a lot of problems. A player like Hield would thrive alongside elite playmaker like Ben Simmons, creating open looks for him, and his presence will help Joel Embiid operate more comfortably because the teams will be less likely to double team him and leave Hield open. It really is a match made in heaven, so it should be their top priority to not mess this up. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about this potential trade. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.